All right, next we are now going to kind of switch gears a little bit. And if you remember yesterday, Paul was talking about processing on the edge. And that's exactly what Timothy is going to talk about being able to process some data on the edge. And before we switch to him one more time, just a reminder, hop onto the Slack channel so you can ask Martin your questions since he, after maybe he takes a glass of water and a little bit of a break from such an intense presentation. But also you can put your questions in for Timothy as he's going through this presentation, either in the Slido app or in Slack. So with that, are you ready, Timothy?
Ready to go.
Good. Awesome. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. I'm Timothy Spann. I'm a developer advocate at StreamNative, and I work mostly with Apache Pulsar. So my talk is using FLaNK with InfluxDB for EdgeAI IoT at scale. As I mentioned, I'm a developer advocate at StreamNative. We're the original developers of Apache Pulsar and Apache Bookkeeper, which do cloud-native event streaming on whatever cloud you have or on-premise with real-time event streams. Obviously, that marries really well with something like InfluxDB. Now, Apache Pulsar is open source, cloud native, and is a combination of distributed messaging and streaming together. And at our cloud, we do that. Plus, we have Flink SQL, which lets you run continuous analytics on that data and events as they come into the stream. I like to call the combination of different tools that work together really well the flip and stack. And the flip and stack is Apache Flink, Apache Pulsar, Apache NIFI, these connected together. And often really awesome tools like InfluxDB, which works out really well in the open source with flip and stack. Now we have in the Pulsar community a sync for sending data right to InfluxDB, which means I don't have to write any code to get data to stream right into InfluxDB, which when I was running through different examples on your cloud, it was really easy to just send a stream over there. And it's a really nice way to write applications because all I have to do is a little bit of configuration and then just get data into Pulsar from wherever it may be. Specifically for me, it's from the edge. That's where I like to play. Setting that up if we want to stay pure open source and don't want to use any of the enhancements that StreamNative Cloud makes a little easier. It's a couple of lines of text, which I have in GitHub and here on the slide to show you how to set these things up. And it's as simple as you use a connector, you pick your where you want data to come from, where you want it to go to, how many different nodes you want processing this, and you just point to a topic. One thing I'll point out later in Pulsar, which is kind of nice, is because it is that merged streaming and messaging, that it's divided up where you put data under tenants and namespaces and then topics. So you could have one Pulsar cluster geo-replicated around the world and dealing with whatever local edge devices you have. What's nice with Pulsar is it could run as just a producer on your devices and then go right up to the cloud, or it can have an edge gateway. Wherever it needs to be works out really well. And, that works out well wherever InfluxDB may be proportioned. And we can alternate between how I want to get data into InfluxDB. If I want it to go just to Pulsar, to both directly. And then once it's in Pulsar, I could send it off. It's really up to you. But building InfluxDB sync, really trivial. You could do this for as many of the topics as you want. And that'll just stream the data out there into InfluxDB without too much work, as you saw here. And you just have a little bit of configuration that you have to set up. Now, another option here is if that isn't the way you want to go, I've heard a lot of people talking about Telegraph. There is a a native integration for MQTT. What's nice with Pulsar, when I say it's the universal messaging system, it does MQTT as well. So if you want to just use what you have set up for InfluxDB to go to MQTT, you just use what we call MOP, which is MQTT on Pulsar, and that'll just act as a MQTT broker for you, and you can get your data that way. If you want to use the RabbitMQ connector you have, we can act as RabbitMQ for you, being an AMQP on Pulsar sync for you, or source. Gives you that option of getting data in other ways, just more ways that you can connect Influx and Pulsar together, and works out really well to give you options, because you might already have something that's talking RabbitMQ, and we could help act as a universal gateway or messaging system for you. Now, I mentioned Apache NIFI as part of my flippin' stack, and the reason I like this is a couple of reasons. One, it's open source. It's very mature. It came out of the NSA more than 15 years ago. It's guaranteed delivery, back pressure, data buffering, prioritized queues, data provenance and lineage, so you can track everything going on with these complex event streams. Tons of different sources and syncs. And what's nice with Apache NIFI is it's all graphical, scales out as big as you need to be, and it's very easy to use. InfluxDB has a connector from NIFI, makes it very easy for you to send data to and from InfluxDB using NIFI. Gives us another option. Again, lots of different ways to connect it. Usually, to me, it depends on where do you have more horsepower, what's closer to the data, what do you need to do to the data first. If I could take it raw from wherever it's coming and quickly send that over to InfluxDB, well, let's just do that through Pulsar. If you need to maybe manipulate the data, clean it up, enrich it, enhance it before it gets there, NIFI gives you a lot of options, and NIFI can route it to different clouds or to different additional syncs in case you need to send a copy of that data elsewhere. And you actually have a article on that already. So that's pretty mature technology there. That gives you another option. Flink is a nice piece of the puzzle. It's a very scalable open source stream processing engine that connects to Pulsar, works well with NIFI, and can get data while it's still in stream and at events, do some complex processing on there, scale out to billions of events a second, thousands of nodes, and do things like continuous SQL to build dashboards or ETL, any kind of event processing with a very full SQL in there. And that can be part of the applications, regardless of where those events are and where you want to run them and when. That's just part of the puzzle there. Now, we built that StreamNative. We are making sure that the connections between Flink and Pulsar are seamless, and all the different ways that you might want to do that to make it very easy for you to add this to any advanced applications you might be writing or think about writing in the future. Again, what's nice here is have Flink do things to the data at scale, and then when it's ready, it can go to InfluxDB. It could go to InfluxDB when it first came into the system, and then the enriched stream can go there. Lots of different options here, which makes it powerful for processing IoT, but other data sources as well, or join them all together. You have time series data coming in. You've got data you're pulling in from REST endpoints, data resulting from deep learning classifications that I'm running on, say, NVidia devices at the edge, and just join them together event at a time in real time and look at a window of what's going on in that stream, maybe with state, maybe without state, depending on what makes sense for you. And then you could do these things at scale, real time, very quickly. Now, for a typical application for me, I have a number of edge devices sitting about this far away from me, which makes for very localized IoT. I've got NVidia Xavier, some Jetson, some Raspberry Pis. Some are grabbing energy data, some are grabbing sensors, number of cameras in here, doing some real-time deep learning, getting those, and then deciding what's the easiest way to get this data to the next step, to get this to maybe hosted other AI applications, or just get this into InfluxDB for some great notebooks or analytics. So sometimes it'll go natively right through Pulsar, whether I'm using a Golang application or Python or Java or Node.js, whatever that edge device supports. Sometimes these devices just talk native MQTT. So for those use cases, I'm just going to have it point to Pulsar and just stream that data as if it's a regular MQTT broker. And then it's available to stream right into InfluxDB or go somewhere else. The same as if it has can only talk WebSockets. Pulsar will act as a WebSocket gateway, gather the data, get it into a durable topic, and make it available for whoever sync as auto-populating or whatever application might want to read it. Again, once it's in Pulsar, it's very easy to get it into InfluxDB or have something like NIFi or another application read it and do whatever it needs to do with it. Pretty straightforward. Now, to make it simpler and to not be flashing between different screens, I decided make the demo just in the slides. So when you download the slides, you'll be able to see everything going on in the demo. And maybe at a later point, we'll do a more in-depth demo showing some maybe 20, 30 or longer with NiFi, Pulsar, and InfluxDB doing some cool stuff there. But I thought it'd be easier just to have it in slides, don't have to worry about things crashing, and don't have to worry about taking up too much time in the stream. So as you saw, NiFi pretty easy to work with. It's just boxes you drop on a screen. Underneath the covers, this could scale out to hundreds upon hundreds of nodes, as big as you need it to be, whether it's running in Docker, Kubernetes, regular VMs, or just on old-fashioned bare metal hardware. And this can do everything from aggregate the data, convert the data, query it with SQL, run deep learning analytics, run NLP, whatever it needs to do. And then at the endpoint, push it into different syncs like InfluxDB. And I can consume Pulsar very easily. What's nice is don't have to write any code. Just put in a subscription, a topic, and connect to my cluster. If it's secured like StreamNative does with auth, no problem there. We've got a connection pool that'll just maintain those connections for us. I pull the data in. I can pull it from 50 topics if I want. Nothing's hard-coded. It could all be dynamically changed with parameters. And then I can run SQL queries on that data, especially if it's in JSON or Avro or Protobuf. And then when I'm done, maybe convert it to a different format that makes more sense for my sync, or maybe just pull out a couple of fields that I want to track with InfluxDB. Depends on what I'm doing with the system. And I could push end results into something like Slack, so I can monitor my applications as they're running, see the results of my deep learning, get those images from those cameras in a place where I could see them easily, those sort of things. I could check my influx status. If I'm using the StreamNative Cloud, easily I can look at all those dashboards, but sometimes you just want to look from the command line or a DevOps tool. Comes out as JSON, and I could have hit this with a REST API too, and I could parse it, make sure things are writing to the sync at the speed that I think they should be. Maybe I need to scale this up to have more Pulsar IO nodes out there to process this. We'll see, are there any errors? Those sort of things are pretty straightforward to do. In the open source, we'll stick with the command line or REST interface just to keep it easy. StreamNative Cloud, all graphical, runs on all the major clouds or on Kubernetes, depending what you prefer. Gives you a nice dashboard to navigate through these things, see where the schema is. A nice feature of Apache Pulsar is out of the box and open source. There's a built-in schema registry. So if your data has a schema, we'll capture that in the registry. So it'll make it very easy to know how to automatically take data from that schema and map it to whatever your your data store is. Some have tables, some have columns, whatever it needs to be mapped to. Since we have the schema and we know the types and the names, and if it's nullable, makes that pretty easy. We just go through that. That also gives me a place to run my Flink SQL. What's nice about that is test out a query, get some aggregates, and when I like the results, I'll just drop that data right into a sink, which is another topic, and that topic can be streamed out right to, say, InfluxDB, or to any number of data stores, or just an S3 bucket, or whatever makes sense for your application, or just have 50 different consumers reading it, whether they're reading it as exclusive readers, or you want to share this, if you want this in order, do you want exactly once? All those are up to you with Pulsar. It gives you as many options from reading from a stream of events as possible. Just showing you a couple different screens there. Now, once I got this data into Influx, I loved using your Data Explorer. This is all kind of new to me, so I didn't have the most fancy or awesome looking displays here, but it was so easy once I got the data in there to start navigating through it and quickly spin up views of my data. I was really impressed. I'm really going to tell people, hey, if you're doing Pulsar, this is a great way to quickly get your data somewhere, get it in a viewable fashion, and do that at pretty much any scale, which is, to me, is pretty unique. Not every system I could just throw at any amount of data and not have to worry about it, which is pretty nice for me. I do like the dark display, and I played around with it for a while. I was very happy what I could do with it there. Now, I've made all the example code, different examples on how to work with Pulsar, NiFi, and InfluxDB together. So when you get these slides, you could go to the different source code directories. You can see some different examples, whether it's IoT data, REST data, transit data, lots of different options there. And down the bottom, I've got the code for my edge device, so you could try that out. Pretty straightforward. I love talking to people about apps, building new apps, so please contact me. We got about 2 minutes left. I think it's probably a good time for questions. If we have any questions out there in Slido or in Slack, I'm trying to discreetly peek over to my side window there. We see anything in Slido? Or is this just too simple? I keep having this problem. My apps are too simple. Load data, store data. Can't get any easier than that, right? I don't know why you have any questions on that. But if you do have questions afterwards, I'm going to be hanging out in the Slack, except for about an hour later today, I'm going to be hosting a talk at Flink Forward. So,
Timothy,
lots of open source going on today.
I think you kind of destroyed the upcoming weekend for some people. There's a lot of chatter in Slack that everyone's going to download.
You don't need a whole weekend to do this. 1 hour. InfluxDB part is easy. You could spin up Pulsar in Docker in a couple of minutes, or just go to StreamNative. I think we have a free trial for, I don't know how long, decent amount of time. Press a couple buttons and there you go. It's pretty easy. I could do it. You could do it.
That is awesome. And so you guys all heard Timothy. He'll be hanging out for a little bit before he has another conference. So the Flink Forward conference is actually happening at the same time. So we really appreciate him taking the time to hang out with us for a little bit more. So thank you so much, Timothy. We'll be in touch. I think there'll be a lot of questions. People are pretty excited about what your presentation shared with everybody. Thank you.